Hello, good morning, and here I am in Kirkintilloch, just in kids' playground. The reason why I've come down here because it's quiet. This morning I came out to have a wee look round East High Street of Kirkintilloch because Beth was the one who told me of a plaque that is round about here dedicated to 13 Irish migrants who died in a bothy fire way back in 1937, as I said, and it was something that I came out in order to have a look and see if I could find it. I can't find it this morning, but I will go on a search and be a typical man, of course. I should have asked and then been able to find it. And a bit like about a year ago or so, maybe a little less, Keris and I were looking for a mural that was in the West End of Glasgow. So it's part of a let's go and see kind of thing. It's been a fascinating week, not just in politics but all round, I think, as the prorogation of Parliament was declared illegal by a Scottish court, and that led to a number of people down in England becoming very upset at what was it to do with the Scots. Also behind me just here is some scaffolding. Now when I came to interview the Cumbernauld Theatre Group who were doing lip sync, they had gone into the Turret Theatre in Kirkintilloch, and in the morning there had been a leak from above in the roof, so that looks as though that's then beginning now to fix it. So I see they've got a Neil Simon comedy in October coming with the Kirkintilloch players. The story that I was told by Beth was one that made me go and have a wee look at it, and it's a very terrible tragedy. In 1937, in fact in the 1930s, Scotland depended on a number of migrant workers coming over here, and I wondered why it was that they happened to mention that we're Irish, because often what seems to happen in the news is that some particular aspect of, particularly ethnicity, of a group of people becomes hugely important in the telling of a tale. And quite clearly the fact they were Irish was very important to somebody. And what Brexit is going to do to the Scottish economy is going to remove a number of itinerant or migrant workers who come particularly to work in our farms already. There are places in the Highlands where there are closed signs going up in shops to say, really sorry, we can't extend our hours because the people who used to work here have had to go home to Lithuania, home to Poland, and so on. Now that's anecdotal, I don't have a massive amount of evidence of that. And it led me into labelling and thinking of labelling, and it's probably been a week of women for a variety of reasons, and three of them let me ponder, some positive, some maybe not so, some controversial. First of all, let's start with Jan Socrates, who's 77 and the oldest woman to circumnavigate the world solo. Who arrived, I think it was New York this week, or somewhere at the end of her journey, and has broken the world record for being the oldest woman to circumnavigate the globe. And that started it off in a kind of positive vein. And then it kind of got into a controversial vein, because in India I noticed that a woman called Mangayama Yaramati, who's 74, managed to give birth to twins, 74. Obviously it was through IVF treatment that took the first time, and her and her husband, who's in his 80s, are the proud parents of twins, and that caused a degree of concern and upset and controversy in my head. But there was no controversy but plenty of upset when it came to a young woman who is 21 years old, and I need to get this right because it's in El Salvador. Evelyn Hernandez, she was 18 years old when she gave birth. She didn't realise she was pregnant until she gave birth by the side of the street, and the child did not survive, and she was prosecuted and convicted of inducing an abortion because that's highly illegal in that particular country. So she served part of her sentence, and it was a 30-year jail sentence, and she came out after 33 months, had it quashed, and the government are going to appeal, so they're going to put this poor woman through it once again. There's the abortion, there's the loss of her child, there's the court case, the conviction, the jail sentence, then the quashing of it, and now she's going to have to go back into court with the possibility she will go back to prison at 21. I can't contemplate just exactly how appalling and terrible and how many layers of tragedy are placed upon her head. This week I've been working training, and one of the things that I did this week with our safeguarding training is I used famous cases in order to illuminate the policy of the company with whom I work. That's Inspire Scotland. Now, one of the things that happened was that I created a particular case, and one of the participants at the end went, I knew it was him, I knew it was him, I knew that was the case that we were looking at, particularly when it came to his bike accident. It was Rose and Fred West were the background parents for a particular child that we'd taken into care in the scenario. And it seemed to be rather strange that of all the things that I'd handed over, it was that particular aspect of his history that had resonated with one of the staff members. It was also the week that a number of podcasts have come into play, particularly in true crime. The Jeffrey Epstein scandal. There's a new podcast coming out which I'm looking forward to having a listen to, because it's not a scandal that I know a lot about. But also Fred and Rose West. There's a new series that has dropped, which will look at some hidden information and evidence that has not yet really come out into the public domain, apparently. I'm still in Death in Ice Valley, which is a fascinating podcast about a woman in 1971 who was discovered in Norway, and nobody knew or knows really who she is or was. So at the moment we're still investigating the possibility that she was some kind of spy. Podcasts this week have ranked up. Both Chris Kane and I have been chatting away, talking about doing a men's health podcast. Chris is in his 40s, I'm in my 50s, and both of us need to do something in order to become far healthier. So a couple of friends of mine, Billy Nelson and Sharon Miller, have been very kind in terms of saying, yeah, we'll be the ones that you can come and talk to. So I expect to be in a gym soon, God forbid, in order to kick about and see just exactly how unfit I actually am. Podcast also that came out from Fringe Review recently. My editor, we're now in San Francisco Fringe, doing reviews and audio interviews on the website www.fringereview.co.uk. Joe Tomalin is our stalwart out there. I met Joe during the Edinburgh Fringe. He said some very, very nice things, so I'm going to say some very, very nice things in return, and there's some cracking audio interviews up there. But one of the things that Paul Levy has done is he's taken a lot of the Edinburgh interviews and he's put them together thematically, it would appear. The first one is on narcissism, which is actually very, very well done, very, very interesting. He's back down home in Brighton at the moment, having done the Fringe again for the umpteenth year. I think 2007 Fringe Review was first created, and I would really recommend going and have a look at it. My writing this week has been kind of a bit odd, because the Air Advertiser seemed to have dropped me with not a word. I've not changed my signature at the bottom of my Gmail account yet. I'm waiting to see if they'll actually respond to a number of emails that I've said. So if you have any contacts in the Air Advertiser, I'm going to tap them on the shoulder and see where has art of the matter gone, or what's going on. I have been talking in my writing about two very important former boxers, Jose Napoles and Johnny, let me get this name right, Duplessis, because when I was doing some of my research I couldn't find it. Napoles died in August, was a world champion, former world champion, and it was known as the Butter because of his smooth boxing style. A Cuban who was exiled ended up in Mexico, quite apt that it was this weekend that I got to write that, because it's of course Mexican Independence Weekend, which I'll come to in a minute. And then there was Johnny Duplessis. Now Duplessis is legally blind because of his last fight. He is somebody who now works and campaigns. He came out of boxing, got a degree in social work, and now works on behalf of those people who are homeless, disabled, and finding life hard. He was a victim of Hurricane Katrina. He's from New Orleans, and a fascinating story, not just the boxing story, but also what he did after he came out. He didn't go and become a trainer. What he did was he became a very decent member of his community and a contributor to his society. Which leads me to Tyson Fury, who at time in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, came through Otto Wallen's challenge. It was far harder than people gave anybody credit for. They didn't think that Wallen was going to be a decent test. Due to a cut in the third round, in fact there was another cut later on, it became far tougher for Fury. But it also demonstrated that the heavyweight division is not quite as simplistic as people think it is. It certainly put into some kind of context Andy Ruiz Jr. Versus Anthony Joshua to an extent. But we also then have to perhaps grudgingly give Deontay Wilder credit, because he's the guy who has not suffered quite to the same level, only one person having taken him the distance. For Tyson Fury, Wallen managed to get to the end of the 12th round. I'm also going to mention Heather Hardy. Heather Hardy is a former WBO boxing world title holder who on Friday night lost to Amanda Serrano, and it was a very, very decent contest, a fantastic fight. Now, Heather Hardy had no riches. She was training whilst living in people's couches. She had no millions in the bank. She was a true boxing warrior in the context of somebody who wanted to fight because that was what she loved doing. A lover of that sport, she came in as the champion and left without her belts, not skulking away. In the first round, Serrano battered her. The bell saved Hardy, but Hardy refused to go down. And in the weekend of Mexican independence, we didn't get Triple G versus Canelo, but we got Heather Hardy and we got Tyson Fury, and both of them may not have been Mexican styled, but what we did get was something that was particularly worthy of comment thereafter. So that was the week that was, and in a morning where we have such a joyous, wonderful beginning to the day. Until next week, bye for now.